Hi, I'm Dave Katzler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, here to bring you some results of some tests of the MFJ Super High-Q Loop antenna. I've had quite a few questions about how to put up an antenna in a place that's covenant controlled, restrictions, apartments and things like that. And I've looked at small antennas, particularly loops. I have two loops I'm evaluating right now. One is the MFJ-1788, which is this antenna right here. They also have another model, 1786, that covers 10 down through 30, and this one covers 40 up through 15, in theory. Now, I want to see how these things really work, so I actually bought and paid for this with my own funds to see how well it worked. It's not a cheap antenna. It's about $500, and it was on back order for a while till they built some more and sent it out. So taking a look at the antenna, got a picture here of how it was mounted. I took a 2x4 from Home Depot that was about $4, less than $4 for that. I had a little piece of steel pipe that I've had for quite a while and apparently had mounted an antenna on it before, although I certainly cannot remember what, but that goes back a very long time. And the reason I chose the steel was because the moment of angle, the angle on the way the thing is mounted can be pretty stiff. The antenna itself has a couple square feet of wind area and will put a lot of force on where it's connected to bend it, and I don't want that bend moment to be a disaster, therefore the steel. Now, ideally, I'd have a steel mast all the way to the ground it there, but this is not ideal. I wanted to do it as inexpensively as I could to see what would work. So the antenna is mounted out in the yard, and you can see it here with the Snuffles range in the background. And I just got some stakes from Home Depot. These were $3 or $4 a piece. They're steel. They're 2 feet long. And then I used this antenna rope that I'd gotten from DX Engineering quite some time before and put it up there. So it was up in the air. The base is about 8 feet in the air, and the top is about 11 to 11.5 feet in the air. It's not what I'd call a real tall antenna, but this is a realistic mounting. So let's talk about results very quickly. First of all, the antenna does not tune below 7228 megahertz. This is pretty bad, I think, because it only covers about 75 kilohertz of the 40 meter band. I called MFJ about that. They had no idea what was going on. They gave me the idea of a few things to check, which I will, but this report brings you the results that I found with the antenna as it was. I was able to have some QSOs on it. Nobody answered a CQ. However, they would answer my CQs on my regular vertical, and then I'd switch over to the loop to see how they thought the loop was compared to the vertical. The results were not good. Everybody was saying that it was down even up to 30 dB below the vertical, so it was performing much worse. The lowest SWR it was able to obtain on 40 meters was 1.7, and which is not good if you want to keep your spread to the two SWR of 2 to 1 bandwidth on this thing is from 7226 to 7230, which is only 4 kilohertz. So if you move more than a kilohertz or so from where you were using your radio, you will have to retune. I'll show you how you tune. On 30 meters, the antenna will tune here 4 kilohertz, again, is the bandwidth on that. The lowest SWR I was able to obtain was 1.7. Now 20 meters is a little different. The Lowest SWR I was able to get was 1.3, and was able to get a bandwidth where things were in tune of 13 kilohertz. So it's possible to actually tune around just a little bit without having to retune. I was able to get a QSO going with a CQ on the loop on 20 meters, and I did extensive A/B testing between my loop and my vertical, and the fellow on the other end said he could not tell a difference. Also, when I switched between the antennas on receive, I couldn't tell a difference either. I mean, it just looked the same S units for receive and everything. So the antenna really is quite a success on 20 meters. 17 meters, I was able to get the lowest SWR of all with an SWR of 1.0. I mean, a one-to-one match there. Very nice match. And furthermore, the bandwidth was quite wide at 18 kilohertz. So that's the 2-to-1 SWR bandwidth. Okay, on 15 meters, the lowest SWR I was able to get was 1.2. And the bandwidth on the antenna up in the phone portion was actually 26 kilohertz. So there was a fair amount of moving around you could do and keep your SWR below 2-to-1. Just for fun, I tried to find a match on 12 meters and could not. I was unable to locate a spot where it was the highest that it would tune. It just sort of dithered away on that. So the antenna covers 15, 17, 20, 30, and 40. And on 40 has got real issues. It's not getting out very well. It's also, when I try to listen to people on 40 with it, it's not very good, and it covers only a portion of the band and not the most useful portion of the band either. So I did contact MFJ Tech Support and spoke with Stan, and he gave me some ideas which I will implement in an upcoming video here and see if we can't get this thing performing on 40 meters like it should. For those who are new generals, new hams, I would say that your best HF bands right now are 40 and 20. 40 in the daytime and into the nighttime, and 20 kind of in the daytime. There are openings when they're open a little bit more, or you might try other bands. But this antenna does not do 80, nor really does any loop. The loop would quite simply have to be too large. So let's just take a look at how this thing is tuned. I used the MFJ 259B to do my impedance checks on this thing, and then this is the controller for the antenna itself. They have replaced the old regular bulbs in this thing with LEDs. It takes a little bit less power to light it up. So this turns power on and off. Now, note that the antenna can be used with this thing off. What this thing does is it tunes it from one place to another. But because it's pushing a physical capacitor back and forth, the tuning will be okay for you on, once you get there, you can turn this off. The high-low range has to do with the amount of power. Up through about 6 watts, you want your low range. Your high range is up to, it says up to 300 watts there, but actually it's up about 150 is the max it'll take. Note that in is high, out is low. The lamp can be turned on or off. I personally prefer it on. Now, these up here, these buttons here, tune the antenna. This is sort of a lock and stop kind of thing. If you want to tune the antenna all the way up, and for some reason they put up, down, rather than the other way, which you would think, this thing will tune all the way up to its highest frequency and then stop. Now, if you're putting some energy, RF energy, into this, what it will do when you do the downward tune is it'll stop where it's resonant, and you can tweak it just a little bit. I found with these buttons here, a quick push on one of the buttons can make a big difference in the SWR. It is very, very narrow band, very high Q, and whereas a normal vertical is less high Q, and so can get you the whole band at once. Now, to go from all the way at the highest frequency to all the way at the lowest frequency takes the better part of a minute, as we're seeing right now. There's no indication on here as to where that capacitor rotor is. I think personally that'd be a very nice addition, so you can get back to things fairly quickly. The light went out because it went all the way to the down. So if you hit on this up arrow here, it just sort of tweaks it up, okay? And you want to tweak it down just a little bit. That'll tweak it down just a little bit. You can do it one pulse at a time as you get in closer. There's a couple ways of tuning this. You can tune it while tuning it here. You'll hear a sudden rushing noise as the tuner tunes past the frequency you're on. So you can turn this on until it stops, or until you hear the rushing sound, stop, and then do the fine tuning here to get it just right. And then you'll find that you can just pull it in pretty quickly. I recommend that you first try to set the thing as close as you can with just the receiver until you hear the max noise. Try and sort of center on that, and then use the method that they talk about, because otherwise you're transmitting into a basically extremely high SWR load, which is not good for most equipment. Okay, so that's how to use this thing. It does work. And in permanent installation, this should be grounded by a separate ground to your station central ground. This energy right here is 12 volts, and it comes from a little wall wart, a special wall wart, in that the 12 volt negative here is not connected to the case. So you don't want to use an ordinary 12 volt power supply, and you certainly don't want to use rig power in here, because that will cause damage in here. The way the thing works, the way the thing tells the motor which way to move is simply by the polarity of the DC voltage that goes out over the line. If it's positive, it moves one way. If it's negative, it moves the other. And you can see that it needs to be constantly flipping that voltage. And if it were forced on one side to be zero, and you try to do it the other way, you could short it. So please follow those precautions. This doesn't take much power anyway. There is a provision to put some batteries inside here so that it can be kind of self-supporting, I guess. So, bottom line on this, okay? As it stands now, it's a good antenna for 30, 20, 17, and 15. It's not a good antenna for 40. Now, I got this particular version because it had 40. So we've got a problem here, and in a future video we're going to be exploring this problem and trying to fix it. But I'll tell you what, my QSO on 20, you couldn't tell the difference between how it worked. So, by the way, I should point out that the day after I put it up, I was going to do some tests, I walked out, and this is what I found. The antenna all covered in snow. It's now May 2nd. Hopefully we're going to be done with our snow before too long. Although in these areas the date of last frost is supposed to be around May 15th, and I've seen it even later than that. So, very good. So please click like, please subscribe. Use both feet when walking. Try to power your equipment before trying to get a signal out of it. We'll see you next time, 73.